In the distant dawn forest, sunlight pierced through towering ancient trees, scattering golden patches of light on soft moss, where countless creatures lived, from fluttering butterflies to whispering streams, every corner filled with the song of life. And on one such morning, a little deer was born. His mother, a gentle doe, named him Starshine, for his eyes sparkled like the brightest stars in the night sky, full of curiosity and innocence. Starshine's coat was a light brown, dotted with white spots like dewdrops scattered across the forest. His legs were long and trembling, and when he first tried to stand, he wobbled and fell beside his mother. The doe gently licked his forehead, saying softly, "Don't be afraid, my child, the forest will teach you how to run." Starshine looked up, gazing at the towering trees and the distant birdsong. The world was both new and vast to him. His first day was spent under his mother's protection. The doe led him across soft meadows, teaching him to recognize sweet clover and cool stream water. Starshine learned to sniff the air, feeling the scents carried by the wind. He discovered that every smell in the forest was different: the crisp fragrance of pine, the heavy scent of earth, and the sweet aroma of distant flowers, all of which filled him with wonder. On the second day, Starshine met his first friend, a little squirrel named Chirp, who leapt down from an oak tree. His tail waving like a small flag, he stared with round eyes and said, "Hey, who are you? Why do you walk like a wobbly toddler?" Starshine shyly lowered his head, saying, "I'm Starshine. I just came into this world." Chirp laughed, hopping to Starshine's side. "Don't worry, I'll show you the forest's secrets. Follow me." And so Chirp led Starshine through the bushes to a giant old oak, where a small cave held Chirp's collection of nuts. Chirp proudly said, "This is my treasure. Do you have any treasures?" Starshine shook his head. He didn't yet know what made him special, but he liked Chirp's enthusiasm, and the two quickly became friends, exploring the forest together every day. Chirp taught Starshine how to listen to the rustling leaves to judge the wind's direction, while Starshine showed Chirp where to find the sweetest water by the stream. Life in the forest was full of joy for Starshine, but it also held dangers. One morning, as Starshine and Chirp played in the meadow, a low growl came from the distance. The doe rushed to Starshine's side, whispering, "Quick, hide in the bushes." Starshine had never heard his mother sound so tense. He followed her into the dense shrubbery, his heart pounding like a drum. Through the gaps in the leaves, he saw a massive gray wolf appear in the meadow, its eyes glinting coldly, its nose sniffing the air. Starshine held his breath, his body trembling slightly. The doe whispered, "Don't move, the forest has its rules." The wolf eventually didn't find them and turned to vanish into the deep woods. When the danger passed, Starshine asked his mother, "What was that?" The doe gently said, "That's part of the forest. Where there is light, there is also shadow. You must learn to protect yourself." Starshine nodded, but the wolf's eyes left a deep impression in his heart. As the seasons changed, Starshine grew, his legs became strong, and he ran as swiftly as the wind. His spots gradually faded, his coat deepening to the color of the forest. Chirp remained his best friend, but Starshine grew curious about the deeper parts of the forest. He heard other deer speak of the distant Starlight Lake, a legendary place with water clear as a mirror, reflecting the starry sky at night, said to be reachable only by the bravest deer. Starshine shared this idea with Chirp, who widened his eyes and said, "Are you crazy? That place is too far, with wolves and steep cliffs on the way." But Starshine said, "I don't know why, but I feel I must go." Chirp sighed, saying, "Fine, if you're going, I'm coming with you." And so the two little ones began their adventure, crossing familiar meadows, wading through shallow streams, and entering the depths of the forest, where the trees were taller, the air damper, and sunlight barely pierced the thick canopy. Starshine and Chirp moved cautiously, always alert to their surroundings. One evening, they rested beside a fallen log. Starshine looked up at the sky, stars twinkling through the leaves. He whispered, "Chirp, do you think Starlight Lake is really as beautiful as they say?" Chirp curled up beside Starshine, saying, "I don't know, but if it's where you want to go, it must be special." Starshine smiled, feeling a warmth, the first time he realized the value of friendship. Their journey brought many challenges. Once they were nearly trapped by a sudden storm. Rain poured down, thunder roared. Starshine led Chirp into a cave, damp and cold, but they huddled together, sharing warmth. Starshine said, "Thank you for coming with me, Chirp, you're my best friend." Chirp pretended not to care, saying, "Don't get sappy, I just didn't want you to get lost alone." They both laughed. After the storm, they pressed on, finally reaching Starlight Lake one morning. The lake was calm as a mirror, sunlight dancing on its surface like scattered gold. Starshine stood by the shore, taking a deep breath, feeling a peace he'd never known. Chirp hopped onto a rock, saying, "Wow, it's really beautiful. You were right, it was worth it." Starshine gazed at the water, seeing his reflection, no longer a trembling fawn but a resolute young deer. He suddenly understood, this journey wasn't just about seeing the lake, but about finding his courage. As night fell, stars sparkled on the lake. Starshine and Chirp lay on the grass by the shore, gazing at the sky. Starshine said, "I think I understand. The forest isn't just our home, it has more to teach us." Chirp nodded, saying, "Yeah, like how I learned it's not just about collecting nuts, but cherishing friends." They smiled at each other, deciding to head home the next day. On the return journey, they handled the forest's challenges with greater skill. When they finally returned to Dawn Forest, the doe stood waiting in the meadow. Starshine ran to her, burying himself in her embrace. The doe whispered, "My child, you've grown." Starshine nodded, knowing this adventure had changed him. He was no longer just a naive fawn. He had learned bravery, friendship, and respect for the forest. From then on, Starshine became a legend in the forest, his story told by other fawns, of a little deer who overcame fear and danger to reach Starlight Lake. Starshine and Chirp remained best friends, continuing their adventures in the forest. But no matter how far they went, Starshine knew his home was always in Dawn Forest, with his mother, his friend, and the ever-shining starlight. Do you still like today's story? If you like, please remember to subscribe to this channel and click the like icon. You can receive notifications and hear the latest stories as soon as possible. Good night, my baby.